All right, so welcome everyone. We're about to take a deep dive exploring 5 states, each with their own unique flavor. We've got Hawaii, Maine, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Vermont. And we're lucky enough to have this amazing collection of personal notes and articles to help us dig in.
Sounds like quite the mix.
It is, right? I mean, we've got everything from volcanic islands to rugged coastlines. We really wanted to go beyond the typical facts, like what's the state bird, what's the capital. We want to uncover the things that really make these places tick, like those little quirks and hidden gems you'd only know if you actually lived there.
Definitely. It's those little details that really paint a picture of a place, right?
Exactly. So, are you ready to start with Hawaii?
Let's do it. Aloha.
Aloha. Okay, so picture this. Volcanic landscapes, turquoise waters, the aloha spirit. It's like a dream destination for so many people. But the thing is, the history of Hawaii goes way back, centuries before it even became a U.S. state. Did you know the first settlers were Polynesian voyagers who arrived somewhere between 200 and 800 AD?
I mean, just imagine navigating the vast Pacific Ocean in those early outrigger canoes. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. And they brought with them such a vibrant culture that's still so present in Hawaii today. Like hula dancing, where they tell stories through movement, or the reverence for Pele, the goddess of fire and volcanoes.
It's amazing how these ancient traditions are woven into modern Hawaiian life. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful blend.
for sure. And of course, we can't talk about Hawaii without mentioning the food.
Oh, yeah. Get ready for some serious deliciousness.
Okay, so first up, we have poke. It's a marinated raw fish salad, and it's as tasty as it is pretty to look at. And then you have spam musubi.
Wait, spam in
I
paradise.
know, right? It sounds a little strange, but trust me, this combo of spam, rice, and seaweed, it's a total Hawaiian classic.
Okay, I'm intrigued. It must be more than just the sum of its parts.
It really is. And it actually kind of speaks to the history of Hawaii as this cultural crossroads.
Yeah.
You've got Polynesian, Asian, and American influences all coming together. That fusion is what makes Hawaiian cuisine so special. So are you ready to leave the islands and head to the mainland?
I'm ready for anything. What's next?
All right, let's journey to the rugged Atlantic coast. We're going to Maine.
Ah, Maine. Land of lobster, lighthouses, and Stephen King novels.
Right. It's got this unique beauty, like those rocky coastlines, the iconic lighthouses, and those dense forests that have inspired so many stories. But Maine is also deeply tied to the sea. Shipbuilding has been a major industry in Bath for centuries. And did you know that Maine was actually involved in a conflict with Britain over timberlands back in the 1800s?
Seriously.
Yeah, it was called the Aroostook War. It really highlights Maine's independent spirit and its historical connection to Canada.
It's fascinating how these events shape a place's identity, isn't it?
Totally. And you can really see that independent spirit in how Maine celebrates its traditions. Lobster festivals with mountains of those delicious crustaceans, classic bean suppers that bring communities together, and of course, winter in Maine.
Oh, yeah. Long, snowy winters. Perfect
Uh-huh.
for curling up by the fire with a good book.
Right. But they also embrace the cold with all sorts of activities. Skiing, snowmobiling, even ice fishing.
It's that resilience and resourcefulness that defines Mainers. They've adapted to a sometimes harsh environment and built this unique culture that celebrates their connection to the land and the sea. It even extends to their choice of beverages.
Wait, what?
Have you ever heard of Moxie?
Moxie. Now that sounds more like a personality trait than a drink.
Well, it's definitely got a personality. It's a uniquely flavored soda. Some people love it, some people can't stand it, but it's a true taste of Maine.
Okay, that is definitely going on my list of things to try. Now, how about we trade the coast for something a bit different? Let's head west to Minnesota.
Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, right?
Oh, that's the one. You think Minnesota nice and all those cozy Scandinavian vibes. I've heard so much about this sauna culture there. What's that all about?
Oh, it's a big deal, especially in areas with a strong Finnish heritage. Those long, cold winters make a sauna pretty appealing. But it's more than just warming up. It's a social thing, a way to connect and relax together. It's almost like a community ritual.
Wait, so it's not just sweating it out in a wooden room. It's about connecting with others. I love that. And speaking of unique traditions, what's the story with these butter sculptures at the Minnesota State Fair? What makes them so special?
Oh, they're incredible. You have to see them to believe them, like life-size figures, intricate seams, all sculpted from butter. The skill and patience it takes, it's unreal. And it's become this beloved tradition at the State Fair.
I've got to see that. But now let's talk about food, beyond butter, of course. What are some of the must-try dishes in Minnesota?
Well, you can't talk about Minnesota food without mentioning Hottish. It's this hearty casserole that's perfect for those cold winter nights. Then there's a liff, a traditional Scandinavian flatbread that's thin and delicate and a little bit sweet. But if you're looking for something a bit more indulgent, you have to try a Juicy Lucy.
A Juicy Lucy. That name definitely has my attention. What is it?
Imagine a burger, but the cheese is stuffed inside the patty instead of on top. So when you take a bite, you get this explosion of molten cheese. It's pure cheesy goodness.
Okay, I am sold. Juicy Lucy, it is. But let's not forget about the music scene in Minnesota. Prince, Bob Dylan, The Replacements, Husker Du. The list goes on and on.
It really does. It's incredible how much musical talent has come out of Minnesota. From folk to punk to the legendary Minneapolis sound that Prince pioneered.
I think it's that diversity and the fact that so many groundbreaking artists has come from this one state. It really makes you wonder what it is about Minnesota that fosters such creativity. But for now, I think it's time we head south to Tennessee, a state that's practically synonymous with music history. I mean, we're talking about the Grand Ole Opry, the birthplace of country music, and legendary artists like Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash. The list goes on and on.
And don't forget about the blues. Memphis is a cornerstone of American blues music. You can practically feel the history walking down Beale Street with its legendary clubs and just the whole vibe.
It's amazing how music and history are so intertwined in Tennessee. But you know what? All this talk about Tennessee is making me hungry. What are some of those must-try dishes you think our listeners should know about?
Oh, you're in for a treat. Tennessee is a food lover's paradise.
If you like spicy food, you have to try Nashville hot chicken. It's fried chicken, but with a kick. They season it with this fiery spice blend that will, set your taste buds on fire. But don't worry, they usually serve it with white bread and pickles to kind of help tame the heat a bit.
It sounds intense, but delicious. What about Tennessee barbecue? I know that's a big thing there.
Oh, absolutely. Tennessee barbecue is serious business, and Memphis is considered a real hub for it. They typically use pork, like ribs and shoulders mostly, and they slow smoke it over hickory wood for hours and hours until it's just falling apart tender. And the sauces are a big part of what makes Memphis barbecue unique. Usually they're tomato-based with this nice tangy vinegar kick.
Oh, now I'm really getting hungry. But let's not forget about all the amazing sides and desserts they have down south.
Definitely. There's no shortage of those. Think like creamy coleslaw, mac and cheese, and those fluffy biscuits with gravy, they're a must-try. And for dessert, you can't go wrong with a slice of pecan pie. It's sweet and nutty and just so satisfying.
Now that we've had our fill of barbecue, let's switch gears a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Tennessee also has a unique horse breed. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called the Tennessee Walking Horse. And they're known for this smooth four-beat gait. It's called the running walk. And it's incredibly elegant to watch them move. But it wasn't just for show. They were actually really popular for riding and working on farms back in the day because they're known for their stamina and this calm temperament.
So a combination of beauty and practicality. I can see why they're so beloved in Tennessee. But for our last stop on this deep dive journey, we're going to shift gears completely and head up north to Vermont. It's a state that kind of evokes images of peaceful landscapes and, a strong sense of independence.
Yeah. When I think of Vermont, I picture rolling green hills and those charming little villages and those picturesque farmlands. And of course, those stunning mountain views, especially during fall foliage season. It just seems like a place where you can really get away from it all and connect with nature and just find a sense of peace.
Yeah. It's definitely a welcome change of pace from the hustle and bustle of city life. You mentioned independence. What is it about Vermont that makes it stand out in that way?
Well, Vermont has this long history of self-reliance and this fiercely independent spirit. Remember, they were actually an independent republic for a time before they even joined the U.S., and they were pioneers in abolishing slavery. They did that even before the U.S. as a whole.
That's a powerful history of standing up for what they believe in, and that independent spirit seems to carry through to their traditions as well, right? What are some unique Vermont traditions that our listeners should know about?
Well, maple sugaring season is a huge deal in Vermont. It's this time-honored tradition where they tap maple trees and collect the sap. Then they boil it down to create that delicious maple syrup. And you can find all sorts of maple treats in Vermont, like candies and cookies, and of course, pancakes drenched in that sweet golden goodness.
That sounds amazing.
Mhm.
I know Vermont is also famous for those incredible fall colors. The foliage is supposed to be spectacular. What is it about Vermont that makes it so special?
Well, Vermont's covered in forests with like all these different kinds of trees. So when the temperature starts to drop in autumn, the leaves just erupt into this kaleidoscope of colors. It's like nature's own fireworks show. People come from all over the world just to see it.
It sounds truly magical. And what about the social and political side of Vermont? I heard they have a really strong tradition of community involvement and that kind of grassroots democracy.
Oh, yeah. Town meetings are like a cornerstone of their political system. It's a chance for everyone to come together and like directly participate in local government. They talk about the issues and debate proposals and actually vote on important matters that affect their communities. It's really cool.
It sounds like a true sense of community and shared responsibility.
Yeah.
But let's talk about something that might surprise some people. Vermont has this down-to-earth charm, but they also have a surprisingly global side, right? I'm thinking of Ben& and Jerry's.
That's so true. It all started in a renovated gas station in Burlington, Vermont back in 1978, and it's become this global phenomenon. They're known for their unique flavors and like their commitment to social justice.
It's amazing how they've managed to keep their Vermont roots while also expanding all over the world. But speaking of those unique flavors, what are some of the must-try foods in Vermont that really capture that local flavor?
Well, you can't go wrong with Vermont cheddar cheese. It's known for its sharp, tangy flavor and this like creamy texture. It's so good. And if you have a sweet tooth, you have to try their apple cider donuts. They're warm and cakey and bursting with cinnamon apple flavor.
Mm. You're making me want to hop in the car and head to Vermont for a culinary road trip. But now that we've explored all 5 states, I think it's a good time to pause and let our listener reflect a bit.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about these states? What common threads did you pick up on, or were there any surprising contrasts that jumped out at you?
It's amazing how each state has this unique character, shaped by its history and its people. Were you surprised by anything you learned, like the cultural diversity in Hawaii? Or maybe the independent spirit of Maine? Or how about that vibrant music scene down in Tennessee? Or maybe it was something completely different.
For me, it's just seeing how much there is to learn and discover beyond those typical images we see. Each state has these hidden gems, these stories waiting to be told, and that's what makes exploring so exciting.
Absolutely. It's about digging deeper and going beyond the surface to uncover those layers of history and culture and tradition that make a place unique. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire you to plan your own adventure to one of these fascinating states.
Speaking of adventures, I have one last question for our listener. If you could experience one tradition from each of these states, which would you choose and why?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Would it be the thrill of seeing a moose in the Vermont wilderness?
Mm.
Or maybe having dinner at a Minnesota potluck? Or how about catching a live blues show on Beale Street in Memphis? There are so many amazing options.
It's all about finding what speaks to you, what sparks your curiosity. Maybe you're picturing yourself at a Hawaiian luau or enjoying a lobster bake on the coast of Maine.
There are no wrong answers here. It's just about figuring out what resonates with you and what kind of experience you want to have on your journey.
Yeah, it's like you said, so many amazing choices. I mean, maybe you're picturing yourself all bundled up in a Minnesota ice fishing shack, just waiting patiently for the fish to bite. Or maybe you're tapping your toes to some live bluegrass at a Tennessee honky-tonk. Each state really does offer such a different experience.
It really does show how amazing this country is. You can travel from one coast to the other and experience a whole world of different cultures and traditions. It never gets old. It's a constant source of like new discoveries and things to get excited about. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've gone from volcanoes to coastlines, from sauna rituals to butter sculptures. And I think we've tasted just about everything. Spam musubi, hot chicken, juicy Lucy's, those apple cider donuts. What was your biggest takeaway, listener? What are some of those images and stories that'll stick with you after this?
Maybe it's the resilience of the people in Maine. They've really learned to thrive, even when things get tough. Or that feeling of being connected to nature you get in Vermont, where life is just a little slower. Or maybe it's the energy of Tennessee, where music is like the heart and soul.
Or maybe it's the warmth and hospitality of Hawaii, where the aloha spirit welcomes everyone with open arms. Or the sense of community in Minnesota, where people get together in saunas and share a hot dish on those cold nights.
It's been such a pleasure exploring these 5 states with you, and hopefully this deep dive has sparked some curiosity in you, listener. Maybe it'll even inspire you to plan a trip to one of these amazing places.
Yeah, and if you do, we'd love to hear about it. Tell us all about your own deep dives into the heart of America.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, never lose that sense of adventure.
There's a whole world out there waiting to be discovered, one deep dive at a time. Thanks for joining us, everybody.